By the way, you wouldn't even believe the faces Margot's making. I mean, like, first of all, she's had the loudest exhale as you were in your diatribe. She's got the biggest knife in the world in her hand. She's rolling her eyes. Like Margot, just be honest. Was this because of you're tired of hearing about the playoff format, or if it's just 30 years of hearing Anthony talk? She's done with this topic. Welcome back to Worst Seats in the House. Michael Russo, Anthony LaPanta. We're like in the middle of a Curb Your Enthusiasm episode.
Right, but you're the one getting in trouble.
I know.
This time.
I walk in. So, like, one of my favorite Curb episodes is when Jen Green, right? Susie Green. God, Susie Green wanted Larry to take a house tour, and he's like, I've seen it all. Margot just wanted me to go downstairs and check out your basement for this speakeasy murder mystery thing that you're doing on Christmas Day. And I'm like, Yeah,
I've seen it. I don't need to.
I don't need to climb back up the stairs.
Right. And just think, I mean, there's nothing wrong down there right now, so we don't need anybody to go down to point at it. So why would you go down to take a look at it? It's actually, they've done a good job transforming a game room in the basement.
And who's they?
Well, Gianni did most of the decorating. I did build a bar, so that helps with it. But Gianni did the decorating, so it'll be set up like a speakeasy on Christmas night. We're going to try something new this year. But Margot also has the table set for the Feast of Seven Fishes,
which I wouldn't look at.
You didn't notice that, and we'll refuse to even get up and go look at it. You know, I'm sure at home you'll have your fine dinner tonight on a Chinette paper plate, maybe some microwaved broccoli and a piece of chicken.
I did feel bad when I texted you and I said, "Hey, by the way, I'm not eating dinner." You're like, "I just left the grocery store."
I mean, you do understand how this works in other people's. I mean, I go to the store a lot, but I have to go to the store. I don't have a grocery store in my garage. So when we talk about doing the show and then having dinner, it requires a trip to the store to buy enough food to make dinner for 3 people. It isn't, I don't just point at my refrigerator and say, "You're lacking food," and boom, there it is. And so I came home and said, "Well, Margot, I stopped at the store. I bought food for dinner for 3. Russo bailed. So what should we do instead?"
So what are you doing instead?
We're using some other stuff we had in the fridge, and we'll save what I bought for tonight for another night.
I do feel bad. So another thing I learned today coming in is that the snowmen on your patio are actual presents and a tradition for each of your kids, that you give them a snowman. And that's how they know that they're snowmen. That's how they know that that's their gifts. I guess
snow women for the 2 girls. But
right.
Yeah, it's a 3 package, like a snowman with 3 boxes wrapped in white, made up to look like snowmen. And
there's no chance this was your idea.
No, it was not my idea. It was Margot's idea. I think this is maybe the 4th year we've done it, maybe 3rd or 4th, somewhere around there. But she has them sitting in our solarium on a table. And I think in the whatever it's been, 5-6 days since I've been home, I've done a double take thinking there was somebody standing in my porch at least 10 times.
Well, Margot sent me video the other day of the dogs staring at it just with their tails wagging, wondering who they were.
Yeah, then they forgot.
Where's mine?
Well, we thought maybe you'd probably do a no-show anyway, so...
That's true. All right. So welcome back again to Worst Seats in the House. We're going to have a live show or 2 in January. We're just coming up with the dates because our schedules are crazy, especially with this road trip coming up right after the break, 7 gamer that goes to Winnipeg, Vegas, Anaheim, or Winnipeg, Vegas, San Jose, Anaheim, LA, Seattle. 2 games in a row in LA. Wild, they were 5-0 with Quinn Hughes, 4-0 with him in the lineup. Have the big win in Columbus the other night. Have the big win against Edmonton. And then last night, Colorado came to town and just showed exactly who they are. That they are, man, they are good. And I I would say the Wild just weren't sharp. They looked like a team that was tired.
I thought they looked tired. And yes, Colorado, they're the best team in the league. But Minnesota's not 4 goals behind them right now, I don't believe. I think it was a Colorado team that Minnesota got their attention by beating them here 3 weeks ago. And I think at that time, Minnesota was just starting to get their traction. Is it for real? Is this team what they're showing so far in November, or are they what we saw in October? Now they've got Colorado's attention, that this is one of the teams that is going to be a factor in the Western Conference. And I think Colorado came out with that kind of attitude, effort, and they ramped up their game. And I thought Minnesota, for the first time in a month and a half, really just looked tired. They looked off, didn't have the same kind of energy, determination that they've shown. They had spurts of it, but they couldn't maintain it. And I mean, this schedule has really been unbelievable lately for Minnesota. 6 games in 9 nights.
7-11.
Right.
And by the way, in those 6 of 9 that you just mentioned, Colorado played 3 times.
Right. That's what I was just getting to, is that Colorado, and this was a second of back-to-backs after an emotional game against Edmonton the day before. Well, Colorado had the day off in St. Paul. And this is not to, everybody has their stretches in the schedule. You play 82 games over the same period of time. Everybody's got their stretches where they're the more rested team, the other team's more tired. But this was one for Minnesota that was going to be a challenge. I don't care who the opponent was. It was going to be a challenge for Minnesota. Then you throw on top of it that it's the best team in the NHL, and a team coming in here with a little chip on their shoulder because they had been beaten here the last time around. We were talking about it yesterday. Wes asked me if I could go. Wes Walls asked, any way you could look up like when the last time the Wild played 6-9, or what their record is when they play 6-9. I started going back through a few years. I was like, I can't find a time where they played 6-9. It just doesn't happen very often. And this is back-to-back weekends with back-to-back games at home. A lot of times you'll go through a year with maybe 1 or 2 back-to-backs at home. I think the Wild have 5 this year.
5 already.
5 already that they've played. It's just unbelievable the way this schedule has been crammed in for everybody because of the Olympics, and extra for Minnesota because of the trip.
I believe the Wild have the second most back-to-back games this year as well. And obviously, I mean, look, the big thing is that this is going to become the norm. First of all, starting next year, there's 84 games, not 82. And remember, this is the Olympics. This isn't just an aberration. Like every 2 years from now on the NHL calendar, it's going to be international competition.
Yes, but it won't be 3 weeks like it is this year. When it's a non-Olympic year.
Yeah.
The whatever they're going to call the World Cup is not going to be 3 weeks. So that'll help a little bit.
I do
but
wonder.
I also think they're moving the start of the season back a couple weeks, so that'll help relieve some of it.
Yeah.
But they have to do something. I mean, why not just start 2 weeks earlier, start around the 1st of October, and because it's a health issue right now around the league too. The injuries are up everywhere. I know we focus on it a lot with Minnesota, but everybody's dealing with more injuries this year than they have in the past. And the condensed schedule and the increased long nights of travel and everything are no small part of that.
Without a doubt. The one thing about Makar and McKinnon is, to your point on them being up for this game. I mean, they talked about it, that they had a very big meeting in the morning, and who knows if the bulletin board material, it seemed like they had big memories of it. The social media team certainly did when Wally said that they were the better team after the last game. That was one of those.
Even Volsted's celebration had them talking.
Yeah, exactly. Or at least had, their play-by-play guy talking on radio. But I just think that it says a lot about those two. They are so dialed in right now. The two of them are having unbelievable seasons. I mean, unreal. Like 30 goals in 35 games for McKinnon now. 61 points in 35 games. What's amazing is he was great last year. Yeah.
He had 32 goals last year.
Yeah.
He's 2 goals away from where he finished last season.
It's crazy. And then Makar is just like, look, I don't think there's any doubt that Makar and Quinn are the biggest star defensemen in the league, but Makar is something else. Like he is just
right now he's one.
Yeah.
And I think you have to put Zach Werenski in that conversation. I think you have to put Miro Heiskanen in that conversation. But those are the 4 that to me are separate. Josh Morrissey's pretty good, Hedman's good, but those 4 to me are different than all the rest. And I think Makar is a half a step ahead of the other 3. It's really amazing. He has that little jump that Werenski showed so often in the Columbus game, plus something. And he has an ability to accelerate the pace of his play. And when he and McKinnon play together, which is about 60, I looked it up before the game. I think it's 64% of McKinnon's ice time is with Makar at 5-on-5.
Yeah.
And I know the Wild they might be able to do the same thing with Hughes and Kaprizov playing together because of the way they're using Brodin and Spurgeon defensively. So maybe we'll see that same kind of chemistry develop. But you're talking about guys that have played together now for 5 years, 6 years. Hughes and Kaprizov have played together for 5 games. There's a difference.
Yep, absolutely. And it's just going to continue to get better and better. Still to me, as tired as some of these guys were yesterday on the Wild, I mean, Quinn still made some great plays in there that are just so special. And if guys catch passes on stretch passes, if they, finish, all of a sudden he's finishing the game with 3 points. To me, the most disappointing part of the game, besides, and we'll get to it in a second, the Foligno lack of discipline, was when they did draw the power play in the third period, and they were absolutely pressing at that time. They'd just gotten the Hartman goal. It just felt like, all right, they have put themselves in a position now to steal maybe 2 points in this game. And then the power play came over and just doused momentum. Didn't have a shot. And to me, that almost showed you how they just were not sharp yesterday.
The
fact that they
keep in mind, Colorado's penalty kill is one of the best in the league. And sometimes you have to give some credit to the guys on the other side too. And the Wild power play had scored in 5 games in a row, but Colorado's kill is good. They're the second best kill in the league. And I think part of the credit has to go to them. I thought Minnesota's first power play early in the game, they had chances. They had the puck in the offensive zone. They just didn't score. Then I think Colorado pressured them a little bit more effectively in the power play to which you refer, where Minnesota missed a chance to climb back into the game.
Yep. And Mackenzie Blackwood was great. A lot of calls that could have probably, they could have called probably 2 5-on-3s on that power play, by the way, in the third period. Excuse me, with Eriksson Ek and Kaprizov both mugged in front of the net. The Foligno one, though, he's got to be more disciplined there. I mean, he's the one that cross-checked the guy, that put the guy on to Wallstead, and then, he just felt like he lost it.
Yeah, I think
that summed up his frustration level right now.
It was, and I think the call was right. I did think it was possible that you could have given Colorado 2 on the play because they did exchange some punches, but the initial call was a good call.
Yeah.
He had hooked him down. That call was good, and then he delivered. It was the same cross-check call that the Wild got the day before with Draisaitl on Brodin when he was frustrated.
Yep.
And Foligno knows it. He's a
same referee too.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the call was valid, and Minnesota needed a kill at that point.
I have a feeling Foligno knew it too, because for the first time, maybe ever, when we requested him after the game, he just didn't come out, and I think it's probably because he knew he screwed up and probably just needed a little. Take a couple deep breaths. But he, he's only been back for a couple games from the sprained knee. I know he badly wants a goal. It just feels like right now he is kind of at his wit's end with just everything, and maybe he's not even 100% healthy. But it was uncharacteristic of him.
It for sure was, and I think he's just pressing a little. I think you're right that he knows there's a 0 on the score sheet, and I'm sure that it's not an easy adjustment to be playing where he is in the lineup right now, where a guy that has been a big impact player on this team, whether he was scoring or not, and even right before his injury, they were starting to develop a little something with Sturm and Trenyon. And now all of a sudden, Trenyon takes off on the Russian line, and he's left playing on the fourth line, and I'm sure that's a little bit of an adjustment, and even a great team player, and he'll say all the right things, and he's not going to bring any less effort. That somewhere beneath the surface, there's a little frustration level for him, I'm certain.
Absolutely. The front end of the back-to-back against Edmonton, a great game. Connor McDavid and Draisaitl did their stuff. I mean, they got themselves a couple points
on the power play, like they usually do.
Yep.
McDavid, I looked at it. I mean, he's had big numbers against everybody. The Sabres are the only team in the league against whom he has fewer points per game than the Wild. And when you look at it even a little more closely, I think it's the last 12 games, he had 6 even strength points. I mean, the Wild have really shut him down. He still scores when they're on the power play, and he's still, I'm not trying to say he's the best player in the world, most talented player in the world. But the Wild have shut him down 5-on-5, and you could see the frustration in his game and Draisaitl's game when every shift they're going up against Eriksson Ek. They're going up against Draisaitl was going against Brodin all night. Brodin had a few shifts against McDavid and a few key plays against McDavid. But I think the Wild they've defended him as well as anybody in the league has. And some of their guys were trying to say, like, it's tough to get up for games in Minnesota. I'm like, look, if you're trying to tell me that the reason is that those guys aren't up for the games here, you're trying to tell me that Connor McDavid doesn't know all too well that I'm facing a guy that everybody's talking about can shut me down. He's up for these games. The Wild have just shut him down.
Yes. I mean, that the Wild have had their number for 20 years. I would think that at some point they're going to want to turn it around, and it's probably, that would make any competitor want to get up for the game. I mean, we saw yesterday with McKinnon and Makar how they certainly got up to play the Wild because, the cute little 14-game home point streak and the 7-game winning streak, and they beat him last month, and it was like, all right, no, we're going to show him who's boss here. And you would
same
think that
for Edmonton. Wild had gone into Edmonton and beat him 1-0. You don't think Connor McDavid had 22 points in the 8 games since Minnesota shut him out?
Exactly.
You don't think that game caught his attention?
Yeah. But it is funny what you said about them getting frustrated and showing it, because I went to that Buffalo-Edmonton game a couple of weeks ago up in Edmonton, less than a couple of weeks ago. It was the last game before their second to last game on that homestand before this current 5-game road trip that they were just on. And man, the same, like, Draisaitl slamming doors, slapping the glass with his stick. I mean, he does lose his temper on the ice, and I think that we've seen that at times, but it's also what makes him such a incredible competitor.
Yeah, I just think you can see it in their games too. You can read it in their body language, and you can see it when the end of a shift where they haven't had a chance to have the puck, haven't had a chance to create opportunities, that it just wears them down, and you can see it in their game.
I did want to ask you about Matt Boldy. I mean, this is as good as we've seen him play, Anthony. I mean, this guy, I think up until last night, had 17 goals and 25 points and 25. I mean, 30 points in a stretch of like 25 games. He really does sometimes feel every bit as good as Kaprizov at 10 million less, by the way. But his battle level in these games is, to me, where we've seen the biggest difference the last couple of years. Remember, after his one playoff series against Dallas, it was the second one in a row where Billy was pretty vocal about him, and then he goes into the Vegas series last year. He's outstanding, probably their best player, certainly their best scorer. And then this year, what we've seen from him, other than one little stretch, he's just been the most consistent player on this team.
Yeah, I think that's true, and I think it's a little bit the evolution of a scorer. The same Kirill's first playoff appearance was similar, where he didn't score much, and then the next time around he was great. And I think Boldy he's just been awesome this year. And I think his presence on the penalty kill has helped, but his willingness to get his nose dirty, to get inside, to go to the net. He has more goals than anybody in the league from inside 15 feet. And if you want to be a great goal scorer, that's where you have to go. I just think what was fun to watch in the Edmonton game was that Minnesota's stars just outplayed Edmonton's stars. And Boldy, Kaprizov, Hughes-Faber, Gustafsson, they were better than the big guns for Edmonton. They were better than McDavid and Draisaitl and Bouchard. The reverse was true against Colorado, but it was whenever you can go into those games against some of the top players in the world and have your guys stand up and match them shift for shift, chance for chance, point for point. It tells you that your team's got something. And I think that's what the Wild are experiencing right now.
Yeah, without a doubt. What do you think of Quinn so far?
I think he's unbelievable. He can make plays that when you watch him every single night, you gain even more an appreciation. And he's not the only one who would fall into that category. I mean, if you watch Makar every night, you'd see that kind of stuff too. And like the game we saw in Columbus against Werenski, and you watch him all night. And if you watch that every night, you'd see it. But he makes, I would say he makes 6 to 8 plays a night that as soon as he makes it, you just shake your head and think, we've never seen a Wild player who has that in his bag of tricks. And the way he creates space with his quick turns and his reversals and he's explosive. The way he moves on the blue line has been advertised as the best in the world. And I haven't seen anything that would change my mind on that. And I really just think the only thing limiting it right now is just the lack of chemistry with some of his teammates. You saw a couple miscommunications with he and Faber over the weekend that I'm sure in 10 games, 12 games, that we won't see much of that anymore. But right now you can just see there are some times where one guy's going one way, expecting his partner to go the other, and we've seen him off. Same with the connection, as I mentioned earlier, with Kaprizov. When you start to get him playing, and I'd throw Zuccarello into that too, just because of the creative way he looks at the game, you start to put Hughes with those two guys where it becomes a 5-man unit. Faber's game has taken off since playing with Hughes. He looks 2 steps faster, and I think Hughes is bringing that out of him. So I think he's been absolutely terrific. I think it's been it really has changed the makeup of the Wild roster and lineup, and it's injected life.
Yeah.
I asked John Hines why Faber looked faster, and he said, I think there's a little excitement playing with Hughes, but he's being forced to think the game faster because of how fast Hughes sees the game.
Makes sense. Yeah. Makes sense. And what I love about Hughes is just the way that he can really, he could turn kind of obviously different, but for Suter used to be able to take the game and put it in his pace, slow it down, speed it up. That's what Hughes does. If he wants to slow that game down, he really is poised from that standpoint. And we'll see how fast the chemistry comes with Faber. I mean, one issue is we just talked about the schedule. I mean, this team, no teams seem to be practicing lately. We'll be right back on Worst Seats in the House.
There are many reasons to open a smart checking account at Royal Credit Union, including no monthly fees, no minimum balance, and a $250 bonus. Getting your $250 is easy. Open your account by December 9th. Receive 2 payroll direct deposits of $200 or more, and you'll get a $250 bonus. See details and open your account today at rcu.org/getchecking. No minimum balance required to obtain bonus. Offer ends 12/9/25. Insured by NCUA.
As you navigate the holiday season, think of how many ways water affects your home. Cooking for the holidays? Well, you want clean, purified, worry-free water right from the faucet. If you have a full house, you want shiny fixtures and sparkling showers. This is why you want a Connecticut water treatment system from Aquarius Home Services. Connecticut removes over 99% of contaminants from your water, and there will be no white, crusty scale buildup from hard water anywhere. You can enjoy spotless dishes, softer laundry, a cleaner home. A Connecticut water treatment system is the way to go. I know this from personal experience. I've had it for years and absolutely love it. And now through the holidays, enjoy up to 25% off a Connecticut whole home water treatment system from Aquarius Home Services. Worry-free water all starts with a free water analysis. So go to them right now. I just had one recently. They come every year to change my filters, work on my water softener system. It's absolutely awesome. Schedule your free water analysis today at AquariusHomeservices.com. And don't forget to mention that Russo sent you. Aquarius Home Services, earning the right to be recommended. Back here, Worst Seats in the House, Michael Russo, Anthony LaPanta, Wild having their holiday party tonight, Anthony. And I got a lot of questions from people yesterday why the Wild recalled Ben Jones 2 days after sending him down. The reason why was because he's been on the roster for 2 months, and they felt like it would be a classy gesture to recall him for the holiday party. So I think that's pretty cool. And most likely he's going to go down after Tuesday's game, provided there's no injuries against Nashville. But, those are the type of things that the Wild seem to do for their players. It's a
and the
classy
little things that they think about that it will mean something to the player for sure. I think it's a great gesture.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw, just the way they treated Quinn Hughes, where they go and pick him up and they have his favorite meal on the plane waiting for him, and sent it Escalade to Jack Hughes's house to go pick up Quinn, and they bring him to the hotel they're putting him up to, which, by the way, is a pretty penny, and they got a table full of his favorite food there just waiting, and on his bed are all these Wild jerseys for his family, and then the next day they have a brand new BMW waiting for him to just drive around until he buys a car. I mean, they think of all this stuff, you know?
Right. Well, and so Dominic Henning is a guy who organizes a bunch of that stuff, and we can give him some credit, but then we should make sure we point out that he forgot to make sure somebody put his equipment on the plane.
Yeah, but Dominic wasn't on that plane.
I understand.
Yeah.
I'm just saying before we're going to give this guy all the credit for organizing the car to pick him up and all this, making sure the right meal was on the plane. It was all awesome. But he forgot to make sure somebody put his equipment on the plane.
Let me just tell you, if Dominic was on that plane to New Jersey, the first thing he would have said was, "Where's your equipment bag?"
Yeah, probably.
No doubt about it. Anthony, where do you want to go now? I mean, it's going to be really like this 3 days that the Wild are going to have after playing Nashville. First of all, Nashville's coming in here. They've won 9 of 13. Then they got the 3-day break. And then, man, do they go on a road trip.
Yeah, and the road trip it could be one of those season-defining trips because you always break the season down into a couple of parts to me. It's the up until the holidays, then it's the holidays to the Olympic break or whatever the All-Star break, whatever the break is that year, and then it's the sprint to the finish from there. And I always feel like one of the more challenging parts is that holiday to the Olympic break period because you don't have the energy of the start of the season and everything kind of ramping up until you get to the holiday break. And you don't have the finish line in sight when you come out of the Olympic break where it's, okay, now here we are, let's go. We got our roster set. Now let's make our run. It's that stretch in the middle that always seems to almost lack an identity where it's I don't want to call it the dog days of a season, but there's just a little bit of it's the middle of winter in most of the cities you visit. That's a challenging part. And when you put in there that the Wild are going to be on this trip, and I joked with Ryan Carter on the broadcast during the Colorado game because he said, well, it's really not that tough a travel because you have 5 days. And I said, well, it's easy for you. You're not even on the trip. So it's going to be really easy for you. But it's still a challenge. You're still on the road for a long stretch, and you're on the road against a Vegas team that's likely to be a playoff team in the Pacific, San Jose that looks like they have a real good chance to be a playoff team, Anaheim and LA. It probably, you're going to face at least 2 of those teams are going to be playoff teams, and all of them are contenders right now. And Seattle might be then the only exception on the entire trip because Winnipeg is certainly a contender in the Central. So it's a tough trip anyway. You start with that day where you travel in the morning and play that night, which I wish the league would just get rid of that and start one day later.
Did you see your flight time yet?
Yeah, we leave at like 6 a.m.
Yeah, crazy.
And so we leave at 6 a.m, and our day ends when we get to Vegas at like 2 a.m.
Nice.
Because we fly up to Winnipeg and play and then fly to Vegas after the game.
Yeah, that's bonkers. You know what is just shocking? I was just looking at the standings just to show you how many games the Wild have played. Game 41 is in San Jose on New Year's Eve. Like, when in the world have you played half the season by New Year's? It's never happened as far as I've covered the league.
Well,
usually it's mid-January.
Yeah, I think they're 3 games ahead of last year's spot at the holiday break because I was looking at their record at the holiday break last year compared to this year going into last night. So I think they'll end up being 3 more games played at Christmas than they had the year before, which
crazy.
You might say 3. Well, cram 3 into 10 weeks?
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Yep. Hey, I don't have the stamina to debate the playoff format again with you, but I did want to ask you one thing that has bothered me since our latest debate last week is the whole cyclical thing that you said last week. Like, why should it be? To me, shouldn't the best teams play every single year? And you shouldn't have to worry about cyclical. But the other thing is that there is a real good case that top 3 teams in the league will be Colorado, Dallas, and Minnesota. Is it fair that Minnesota's got to start on the road in the playoff format that you love?
Yeah, I do love the playoff format, but I don't love it because it's cyclical. I was just saying that the reality is that it is cyclical. And so there are going to be years where you benefit from being there have been years where you benefited by being in the Central. And it's never happened where the top 3 were in the same division, top 3 in the entire league. There have been times where the top 3 in a conference, in fact, I talked about this on the broadcast yesterday. The Wild were on pace going into yesterday's game for 112. So now their pace is a little bit below that. Colorado last year had 112 and finished third and had to go to Dallas in the first round. I mean, does that mean Colorado was wrong? They finished third in their division. So they had to go to the second place team, and they would have had to go through Dallas and Winnipeg to move on. And it's not, there have been, I think I looked at it, there had been like 5 or 6 times where divisions had 4 teams that were over 100 points. I mean, there are times where good teams play each other in the first round. That's all I was getting at with the cyclical thing, is that almost every year, if you looked at the playoffs, you'd probably have maybe 10 teams that you would say, I could see them winning 4 series. There's probably 3 or 4 in each conference that you'd say they might win a round, but they're not likely to win 4. So if there's 10, that by definition means 2 are going to get knocked out in the first round. And it's the reality of the playoffs. You have to beat good teams. And I think I love the playoff format because it's built these rivalries. You know what you're getting. If you're Minnesota, you know you have to be able to beat Dallas and Colorado.
Yeah.
And that's why Bill Guerin goes out and gets Quinn Hughes.
Yeah.
Because he's looking at Dallas with Heiskanen, Colorado with Makar. Well, bring it on. Let's see. Here's our big guns. Let's go up against yours and let her rip.
By the way, you wouldn't even believe the faces Margot's making. I mean, like, first of all, she's had the loudest exhale as you were in your diatribe. She's got the biggest knife in the world in her hand. She's rolling her eyes. Like Margot, just be honest. Was this because of you're tired of hearing about the playoff format, or if it's just 30 years of hearing Anthony talk? She's done with this topic.
But I think it's just interesting when you look, and I made the point last week that if you had gone 1 through 8, your Eastern Conference final would have been a first round playoff matchup, and would that have been more just than the way it ended up? I don't know. There's always pretty good teams, and there's always teams that might be a point or 2 separated that I just don't know if it's necessarily a big injustice that you face a team that's got a couple more. Now, we also have to see if these 3 central teams maintain this. It right now certainly looks like they're going to be 3 of the top 6, 7 teams in the NHL. Are they going to end up being 1, 2, 3 in the league? I don't know. We're a long way from that.
Yeah. Stuff going around the league. How about the Leafs right now? Today everybody was like on guard thinking Craig Berube might get fired. All of a sudden at like 5:00, they announced that Mark Savard, their assistant coach, has been fired. Crazy.
I thought Berube's comments the other day were signaling that the end might be near when somebody asked him about the effort level of his team. And he said, I don't know, you'd have to ask them, not me. And that's usually a sign where the coach and players might not be real well connected at this point.
Yeah. I mean, Austin has just been terrible, and it's really concerning.
Right. Right. Well, and then you got what's going on with Jarmo Kekalainen taking over in Buffalo with a team that we've been talking about forever. Like, are they finally? They've got way too much talent to be doing this, and
all of a sudden they've won 6 in a row.
Now they've won 6 in a row, and I don't know if the GM really has anything to do with it, but perhaps it was an eye opener to the players that look, it ain't the coach. We've had about 8 different guys in here, and it's the same set of players. It's time to pick it up. But suddenly they're playing well against good teams, which it's been interesting to look at. And in fact, the other day when I was talking about looking at one of the most encouraging aspects of the Wild start for me is that they've played really well against the best teams.
Yeah.
Going into yesterday's game, I had looked at their record against all the teams that would be in the top 3 in their division. So the 3 automatic playoff contender or qualifiers. The Wild had the best record in the NHL against those 12 teams right now.
And how different is that compared to the last 2 years?
Right, exactly. Where all the talk was, okay, everything's great, but can you beat Colorado, Dallas, and Winnipeg?
Yeah.
And now Minnesota has beaten all those teams this year. But they were 9-3 going into yesterday's game. I think Colorado might have passed them now because they would have gotten a win against Minnesota. But Buffalo was like 4th in the league in that category. They were like 7-4-1 against the elite teams in the league. Yeah,
I had the big win here. I was up in Edmonton, saw them win there. It's going to be really interesting. World Juniors coming up here in Minnesota, which will be exciting. The other thing that's happening during World Juniors is December 28th. All the GMs on the USA Hockey Men's Olympic team are coming to town to meet with Bill Guerin, the actual GM of the team, to make their final selection. So Stan Bowman's coming in, Tom Fitzgerald, Bill Zito, and Chris Drury, as well as John Van Beesbrook, who, by the way, I'm filling in for Barrero on Tuesday, and Beeser will be one of my guests, and also Pat Kelleher and Chris Kelleher. Pat runs USA Hockey, and then Chris Kelleher, everybody knows his brother. He's Wild assistant GM and Bill's right hand man, both the Wild and USA Hockey. And I started really digging into it today, and I don't see a lot of changes from the Four Nations roster. Like, I think Brock Nelson is on the team. The only forward that I could see not going is Chris Kreider. And then, so that basically what that tells you is that of guys like Jason Robertson, Cole Caulfield, Clayton Keller, Matthew Nyes, Alex Tuck, only one of them can make it. This is assuming that Nelson and Trocheck are on the team, and JT Miller is on the team. Now, they got a lot of guys healthy. They think that all of them will not be impacted to make the Olympics, but the forwards are not going to be a big changes. Does it shock you if all of a sudden they leave guys like, so let's just say of those names I mentioned that Clayton Keller is the one picked? Would it shock you that they're taking Brock Nelson and Vincent Trocheck and JT Miller and players like that over J-Rob and Cole Caulfield? And J-Rob has 20 goals since November 11th.
I haven't looked at the roster, so I haven't really broken this down. But to me, so I don't know like exactly how their lineup would look at anything. Brock Nelson has a lot left in his game, and I would love to have him on my team. Not as convinced with guys like Trocheck and JT Miller right now that they're guys you need, but I haven't really looked at it closely. Out of
both of them are not having good years.
No, and that's exactly my point. Is that so? I'm not positive that those guys to me would be no-brainers. Out of all the guys that you said could be wronged and left off, to me, Robertson's the guy he's a different player this year.
Yeah.
In the past, I used to always think that he was more of a scorer that his game needed to be driven by his line mates. The more I've watched him this year, he's got more assertiveness to his game. And there's a lot more there than just being a guy that's a shooter I like his game a lot. He'd be the guy out of all those guys that I would take. I'd take him before Caulfield. I'd take him before Keller. I'd probably take him before Tage Thompson.
Yeah. I mean, Tage I have as a shoo-in.
But if he'd be a new guy, so if you're only losing
Kreider, say Kreider. So I guess what I'm saying is, say Kreider's off, Tage replaces him, so that leaves you one spot.
Yeah, and
I'm right that Nelson, Miller, and Trocheck will.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I'd take if I was only had one spot. I'm not sure I'd give it to Tage Thompson over Robertson.
Yeah.
I think I might go Robertson 1, Thompson 2, and so that would mean for me, my decision would come down to I want JT Miller, Trocheck, or Tage Thompson. And I'm not sure. I know that, Trocheck's been a good face-off guy. I think you'd really have to dig deep into how do they plan to use these guys?
Yeah.
Who's on the penalty kill?
The other thing is Jack Hughes, he's probably going to play center because he's just been so much better at center, and he was not good at the Four Nations at wing. So then all of a sudden, if you moved him to center, as Trocheck as needed, that's one of the ones.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I haven't really looked at what the lineup would be. Hughes came back, scored a goal in his first game back, and has really been incredible this year. He was when he got about 2 days before he got hurt, he was 1 goal off the league lead for goals. And I think he had 10 and 10 in 16 games or something when he got hurt. So I think he's a player that they need more than what he got, what he gave him last year in the tournament for sure. But he's a no-brainer to be on the team.
You see, he's apparently dating Tate McRae, and they have paparazzis just following around New York City now. It's hilarious. It reminds me of when Pavel Bure was dating Anna Kournikova.
This will probably get me in trouble with some people. I have no idea who Tate McRae is.
Yeah, Tate McRae is a pop singer that's a big hockey fan. That's been around All-Star games and things like that, doing singing music. And so anyway, that's kind of the big news there in the gossip world. On the blue line, I also think there could be only one change. I think obviously Quinn's there, McAvoy's there. They've both been selected. You have Faber and Slavin. You have Werenski and Jake Sanderson. I think those are 6 shoo-ins. I think Seth Jones is on the team. So he was somebody from the Four Nations that wasn't there that's going to be there, which would mean that of their 8th defenseman, it's going to be between 2 guys that are at the Four Nation, Adam Fox and Noah Hannafin. Fox, remember, at the Four Nations was not very good. Seemed to have problems with the pace, but he's hurt right now. But he's had a much better year, and he's coached by Mike Sullivan now, which might change the dynamic. I think they probably bring Fox over Hannafin, if I'm right that Jones is going.
Yeah, and I haven't looked at it that closely. To me, Seth Jones would not be a no-brainer. I like Noah Hannafin's game a lot, although he was hurt for a decent chunk of this season, but I really like his game and just simple presence that he can bring. It would depend on what you feel you need. Like, do we have an extra guy if we need a penalty kill guy? Do we have an extra guy if we need a power play guy? If you felt like you were lacking on the offensive side, then Fox is the guy to bring. I do think it's his chances are exponentially higher because Mike Sullivan's his head coach right now. I think, you know what it's like, the dynamic of having to go to your player, even though he's not the guy technically making the roster call. Fox knows he's got input. Yeah. And I think
Chris Drury is GM's part of the group.
Right. So I think it would be really difficult for those guys to go to their own player in the Ranger organization and say, they're going to go to bat for him.
Yeah, I would agree. But again, where he's good is the power play, and your first unit's having Quinn, and your second unit's having Werenski, or vice versa. So Adams probably not on the power play, which, again, if you have an injury, you might want him, but you also have McAvoy and you have Faber, and you'll have Jones if I'm right there. So there's other players. So I just it'll be really curious to see what happens. You want to do Twitter questions next?
Sure.
We'll be right back on Worst Seats in the House. Hey, have you been dreaming of a lake cabin lifestyle with boating, fishing, and family fun in northern Minnesota? Well, lately I've thought a lot about how cool it would be to have a getaway like so many Minnesotans. And if you're like me, you probably think that owning your own lakeside getaway is beyond your budget. Well, if you think lake cabin real estate prices keep going up, well, think again. This is Russo, and I'm here to tell you there is an affordable way to enjoy a cabin lifestyle and all that goes with it. And yes, I said affordable. I founded a clamshell beach resort, which is located on the Whitefish chain of 14 lakes for you and your family to enjoy. Here's how. Clamshell has lake homes that offer deeded fractional ownership, and the keywords there are deeded and fractional. You own it. Imagine having 5 weeks a year to enjoy Clamshell with its beaches, pool, and lodge that's full of kids' activities. Is golf your game? There's a great golf course right across the road. Like winter sports? Well, you can go ice fishing, cross-country skiing, or snowmobiling right out the door at Clamshell. And there's no maintenance, no grass mowing, no snow removal. It's done all for you. And you can own a share of Clamshell Beach Resort at an affordable price. To learn more about ownership opportunities at Clamshell Beach Resort, go to cottagesonwhitefish.com or contact Pat Egan at 612-220-9819. That's cottagesonwhitefish.com or Pat Egan at 612-220-9819. Deer hunting season is here, and it's time to own your odds with OnX Hunt, the GPS hunting app trusted by millions of hunters. With the Hunt app, you'll have access to nationwide public and private land ownership information, waypoints, tracks, and much more, all at your fingertips. Go to onxmaps.com/hunt. That's onxmaps.com/hunt to sign up today.
And I want to tell you about Twill in the Edina Galleria. Scott Dayton's Twill in the Edina Galleria. TwillMN.com is the website. I'm wearing my Johnny O hat. I'm wearing one of my many Peter Millar shirts. Johnny O and Peter Millar are two of my favorite brands out of Twill in the Edina Galleria. When I've been going to Wolves game lately, I've been wearing my Dingman shoes. I've been wearing my Brax pants, my either Peter Millar or Johnny O shirts, pullovers. The Wolves games are weird because they're really cold, and then they turn on the fire jets before the game and singe your eyebrows. You need to be prepared for all kinds of different temperatures in that building. And I just use all my Twill stuff. And as we do more shows here at TalkNorth.com on video, I'll be wearing more Twill stuff because it's really simple. I don't always try to look good. Sometimes I'm very happy being a slob, and I wear old sweats and T-shirts. If I'm trying to look presentable in any way, Talk North meetings, sponsor meetings, big games, going out in public, going out to dinner, I just put on something I bought at Twill. It's just that simple. If I put on something I bought at Twill, I'm going to look good. I'm playing a Randy Shaver's golf tournament on Monday. I'm going to wear Twill stuff to that too. Golf, walk around town, dinner, whatever. TwillMN.com. Go to Twill in the Edina Galleria. They're laid back. They love talking sports. They're nice people. Tell them we sent you. You'll have a good time, and you'll end up walking out with something great.
Backward seats in the house. Mike Russo, Anthony LaPanta. Final segment of the show. Again, we'll have a couple, one or two live shows in January. Stay tuned.
Just as we're kind of talking about heading into our holiday break, I feel like we should thank our listeners we really appreciate all of the people. The number of times I get stopped by people randomly around town that say they listen to the show, that I listen to it every day while I'm driving. I listen to it every day while I'm on the treadmill, whatever. Just know how much we appreciate all of you. And as we go into the holiday season, just kind of feel like we should give some thanks to those that have made the show what it is, and submitting questions, coming to the live shows. The following is impressive, and we don't take it for granted.
No, absolutely. Well said, Anthony. I appreciate you sometimes.
Right.
And especially Margot. Maloney, B. Maloney, one of the many famed Maloney brothers. I can't remember if this is one of the Maloneys we met at that bar in Calgary many years ago. Remember the Maloney that was like in the military, that was like in North Dakota or Montana?
Vaguely.
Came up, yeah. And we were like in a game room or something.
Oh yeah,
like on the bar
upstairs,
playing darts. Yeah, there you go. So anyway, he asks, I know Foligno has dealt with injuries this year, but he doesn't seem like his normal self. What are your thoughts on Moose this year? We talked a little bit about it, but are you concerned? Because you and I talked earlier this season on the podcast when people were asking if the Wild would ever move Foligno, and I said to the listeners, I think that Bill Guerin would sooner move anybody on the team rather than Foligno. Because of how important he is to the fabric. But you also have to perform on the ice. And right now, it just seems like his role is becoming less and less. And if they make trades later in the season, most likely that might move down a Johansson or things like that. And so you just wonder where his role is.
Yeah, I think I think he was beat up for sure. That has hurt a little bit. I do think it hasn't been a no-brainer spot for him yet this season. I think he'll find it, and somehow, some way, I think it's going to end up on a line where he and Trenyon provide the kind of energy that they can provide by just being physical. I think,
and he is. I mean, you have his value is the playoffs,
right?
And he's usually a playoff player.
Yep, and he's a guy you can depend on. In the past they've used him on the kill. I think we'll see him in that kind of a role somehow. And so if there is an addition to the roster and guys start to trickle down, that's probably where it ends up, where your line ends up with Foligno and Trenyon playing together. And we saw those two be able to pull some other guys along with just being a simple physical game.
Yeah. I am just fascinated by how hard Margot is working to make this meal. I've never seen someone.
She's not making a meal. Like, she's cutting up fruit.
I know. And vegetables for the entire hour of the show. She just peeling stuff. Now she's pressing on lemons. I haven't ever pressed a lemon in my life.
So limes are green, lemons are yellow. That's a lime.
All right. I've never pressed on a lime ever.
And so we've got all the kids coming into town. It's going to be, we've got 3-4 days ahead of, we're going to have a blast. But they all come, and you've met all of them. So you know the way they come through the door, and it'll be feed me now. We're actually all going to the Wild game on the 23rd because it's a national game. So I'm able to go just with the family, and I'm looking forward to that. But on their arrival, she wants to have this fruit salad done. So it's more than just, chopping up fruit takes a long time anyway.
Oh my God. I'm realizing.
I don't really know what she puts on there. She puts lime juice and something else. Some
literally
salt,
an hour she has been doing this.
Yeah. I've seen it before.
I know. Do you know how long it took me today to make lunch, Margot? 5 minutes. And that's because what I punched into the microwave.
Right. And do you understand that we don't own a microwave? And
I can't even imagine not owning a microwave.
I can't imagine eating microwave chicken and broccoli for every meal.
All right. If the Wild, this is Nodak Sue, asks if the Wild traded for Nick Schmaltz, what would it cost to re-sign him? I don't know. Obviously right now, as every Wild fan is abundantly aware of, is that prices are going up and up and up. Nick got off to an unbelievable start this year. We saw it in that game against Utah where he scored a breakaway goal, but his game has taken, I think, production wise, a little bit of a low spark. He's definitely a center there aren't a lot of centers out there. And one name that I think makes a lot of sense for the Wild is Ryan O'Reilly. I think that the Wild, a lot of teams are going to be targeting him, Anthony. But from a face-off perspective, a culture perspective, the ability to chip in.
He's already been a member of the Wild.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's got connections here.
Yeah, exactly. And his brother was the captain of the Iowa Wild. I mean, look, Ryan does not have a no-move clause, but by all reports, he's going to be treated like he has one. So he's essentially going to decide when he wants to go. And right now I'm hearing closer to the trade deadline that he is not interested in leaving, especially now that that team's starting to win. And the other thing is that he's probably going to be able to pick his place too. And you know what? So I think it's, if the Wild are a team that he actually looks at as a true contender, maybe. I think Jersey's going after, there's a lot of teams going after him, but there, if you want a center, I mean, obviously Nick Schmaltz is an offensive center. And of the centers out there right now, there's not a ton of offensive centers. So, I mean, maybe he does make sense in terms of re-signing him. It would, I don't think the Wild would want to pay him more than Matt Boldy. And but right now the way
six levels of speculation passed.
Yeah, exactly.
Could you get him? What would it take to get him? What would he want to resign? I have no idea.
Yeah. Puck Gold asks, the coach's challenges on penalties, do you think it will ever happen? It seems to work well in the NBA. I don't think so. Especially as long as Coley Campbell's in the NHL.
You're talking judgment penalties, because clearly there are reviews already with high sticks and things like that. They're not challenges, but there are reviews. You can't get to where it's judgment calls on tripping or interference or things like that.
Lisa Neely, you know her.
I do.
With Ryan Hartman's play lately, and what are the chances he is off the trading block? I think that's something that's always been funny about Ryan Hartman, is that he goes through these stretches where you're like, you can't trade him, and then you start to remember of how good he was in the playoffs and things like that. And I think the Wild have been really conflicted about him this year. They've had him on the market, they've had him off the market, they've had him on. I don't know. Right now, after you trade Rossi, it's pretty hard.
Well, the only way you could trade him would be if a center was coming back.
Yeah, or in another capacity.
Right. And we had talked before and had joked that with Billy Guerin, everybody's potentially on the trading block. I think he doesn't ignore anybody's offer. So to say that he's on or off the trading block, I don't know that I don't know that it's that simple.
Mm-hmm.
If the right person called tomorrow and said with the right offer, I think he'd trade just about anybody on his roster.
When did you get rid of your Casio?
I still have the Casio. I've had this for, I don't know, about 7 years.
Oh, but you haven't been wearing it.
I wear it other than when I'm like going to the gym or playing golf. Then I throw on the Casio.
Dave asks, any updates on the Wild getting their own team playing? I mean, most teams don't want to have a team playing, because then if you have travel issues like you've dealt with all year, then you have no backup plan.
Right.
Like
and
at least when you
all summer doing nothing.
Yeah, and when you have a Delta charter, there's a reason why the majority of teams in all pro sports use charter companies, because then if they have a travel issue, you call your liaison, or usually there's actually a liaison always with you, right? They're now getting you another plane or coordinating the maintenance. So most teams don't want to have a new plane, their own plane.
No, and I think I can say this. Delta's getting new planes next year. So, and I know the Wild have been with them up there with the longest tenured teams. So I know they're high in the pecking order in terms of having access to the new planes most often, or something like that. I don't know exactly how that works, but I know that's part of our plan for next year.
Yep. Jeff Wyatt asks, rate Damon Hunt in his play. Seems like he's been good. Then the injury happened. I would agree.
I think he's been great.
Yeah.
And he'll be the seventh defenseman once Zach Bogosian is back.
Right. Exactly. But he's been really good, and it is a shame, that he took a nasty hit to the thigh that I think probably swelled him up like a balloon. I know he had a Charlie horse. Somebody asked what it'll take to get Artemi Panarin. I mean, obviously it would be another one where it's later in the year. I mean, it's hard to say that he wouldn't be needed here, but I think center is the priority right now. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, I think a scorer is a scorer.
Yeah.
And
doesn't matter what position.
Doesn't matter what position.
Yeah.
If the price is right, a scorer is a scorer.
Yeah.
If everything else was equal, yeah, you'd prefer a center to a wing.
Yeah.
But
would you rather him on the third line and keep JoJo on the second line? Is that what your plan would
if
be?
he continues to outplay him,
or Tammy's got to come here and earn it.
He's got to earn his spot.
Yeah. Start him on line 4. Nate asks, when will Kaprizov start playing like a man who's going to be making $17 million starting next year? I mean, what do you think of that? Because I've seen that a lot in the last couple of days, and obviously it's just seeing McKinnon yesterday maybe is what's causing it. But you look at the year that Kaprizov's having in the production. I mean, he's right up there with all these guys. But
he is, and I think his game over the last 2 or 3 weeks has looked a lot more like Kaprizov of past years, where it's the competitive level, the engaged physically, winning puck battles, that kind of stuff. It's not the pretty play. It's when he's playing like that is when he looks like the game changer that he is. But just think about what we're talking about. A guy he's not quite in the top 10 anymore in scoring after yesterday's game, but he's in the top 12, and he's third in the league in goal scoring.
Yeah,
and we're talking about what he's not doing.
Yeah, I think that people, when they see McKinnon against anybody, are going to start to think that their superstar isn't the same thing. They're different types of players. I mean, there are guys like Jack Hughes, Nathan McKinnon that transport the puck like a thoroughbred that you just, because it's so visible and so vibrant and played with such pizzazz, you're like, that guy is just doing everything. Where Kaprizov's just a very different type of superstar. He's as you've said before, he plays like a fourth liner the way that he battles
with his work ethic, right? Yeah, and look, we're comparing him to the guy that I've said if I was starting a team, Nathan McKinnon would be my first choice. He'd be the guy that I would. That's the guy I want to start and build around. Yep. So to say that anybody falls short of him, well, that in my eyes, that describes every other player in the National Hockey League.
Nordy asks, and not the real Nordy. Nordy asks, is Yurov considered an untouchable? After Zeev Boyum was traded, I don't think anybody's untouchable anymore. Like I would have, if we did that podcast 2 weeks ago, I almost said to you, I thought Boyum was untouchable. Like I just never envisioned that you would trade a Zeev Boyum. So if Zeev Boyum could be traded, who is their number one prospect in the organization, I think Yurov could be traded for anybody. I think anybody could be traded for anybody. Probably not Kirill, but you know what I mean. Probably not Boldy.
Kaprizov, Boldy, maybe Faber might be about the only guys right now that I'd say there's no chance for them to. It's a very little chance for some other guys, but for the right deal, it's. Billy's made it clear if he thinks the deal's right, anybody's expendable.
It's definitely lemon because my eyes are like watering. The lemon smelling
green.
Oh yeah, okay. Oh, it is the limes. All right. Maybe I'm colorblind. Could that be?
Well, it could be. I don't know. Why don't you point at it and see if it turns into a lemon?
All right, Anthony. We appreciate you, Anthony. It feels like Eck is getting kicked out of the faceoff more than anyone else. This is Ryan. Is this something he's doing, or is it the linesman? I mean, you know what drives me crazy is like last night, and I feel bad because one of the linesmen I really like and know and all that, but it was just like they warned the one guy and they warned the next. Just drop the puck, man. Like what I'm amazed at in the history of the NHL. Because if two guys are kicked out, it's a penalty. In the history of NHL, there's been 1 million players kicked out of the circle, but somehow the second guy never
gets kicked out.
Kicked out. Like somehow the second guy didn't do anything that was wrong to get a penalty. Like just come on, man. I don't even think the centers know what they're doing that's getting them kicked out.
Yeah, and I understand that their quest to try to make it fair, but. I agree with you. It's gotten to the point now where it's over the top. Yeah. We see guys kicked out so often, and I don't think Eriksson Ek gets kicked out more than other people. In fact, Vinny had brought this up last week, and he said he wanted to know if it was tracked. Centers getting kicked out of faceoffs because he said to me that should count as if the guy who takes your place loses. If you want to talk about a guy being a 60% faceoff guy, well, if he gets thrown out 8 times and the other guy loses, then is he really 60%?
No.
And so on the last homestand,
first point that Vinny's ever made that I actually agreed with.
And so on the last homestand, we had our stat guy track it each night just to see how many guys got thrown out. And they were all almost the same.
Yeah.
It was Eck got thrown out twice, Sturm got thrown out twice, Hartman got thrown out twice. There wasn't one guy who got thrown out 7 times.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I think it just feels that way. And I'm sure if you really watched the other team, you'd probably say that if you were a fan of the others, I'm sure they say, our guy gets thrown out all the time.
Yeah.
This guy gets thrown out. It's like people who always complain about their goalie giving up the soft goal. It's because you watch him play, your team play 82 times, that goalie plays 60. You've seen every soft goal.
Yeah.
When you only watch him play 3 times, maybe you never see it.
Yep.
You think your guy's the only guy that gives up the soft one.
Yep. SD asks, why can't Charlie Stramel be the center depth we need come spring, or can he? I mean, the Wild are going to sign him. Whether or not they burn a year, I don't know. But I mean, they're not taking the kid out of Michigan State, and that's the center depth that's going to be in the playoffs.
Well, this is not Quinn Hughes or Zeev Buim or even Brock Faber when they signed him. And I can't imagine a scenario where they'd look at him and say he'd be a better option as our fourth line center than Nico Sturm or Ryan Hartman or
going to get a center,
Vanilla Urov, or adding one. I'm saying if you were just looking for a guy at the bottom of the lineup.
Like if the Wild think they're a cup contender this year, they're going to go out and get a player. I mean, it's that simple. He also says, how's Nico Sturm doing? I haven't really noticed him much. How do you think he's doing?
I think he's been good. He's, I think, still adjusting probably. And, he is another guy who missed time to begin the season.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think he's been good, and he's been good on penalty kills. I think they were hoping for more on the faceoff dot, but I think, maybe we'll see that as the season progresses.
Yep. Jack Wellery asks, can you walk us through how a team handles a new trade acquisition? For example, did they help Quinn with place to stay vehicle? So hopefully you heard that earlier in the show.
What's amazing to me about trades is that there is zero exchange of medical information.
I know.
It doesn't make any sense to me that before you make a trade that your trainers don't get a chance to look at a physical of any kind.
No,
to say,
you hear it in other sports, like in baseball, like pending a physical.
Right. And a lot of times, and so free agent signings are different. There you can say, we want to see a physical first.
That was always my problem with the Jakob Lauko pickup. So the Wild acquire Jakob Lauko. They basically then figure out that he had a chronic hip issue that he had in Boston. And then the Wild throw him the Hughes-Faber trade and throw Pick back. Like, to me, like you sent us a flawed player. Now why are we giving you, besides Hughes-Faber for Brazo, why are we giving you Lauko, but we're also giving you a pick?
And there's times where, like, remember when the Wild traded for Gus Nyquist, they knew he was injured.
Yeah.
And all it is the word of the general manager of the other side saying, yep, this is what he's dealing with. He's going to be back in a week. Well, it doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And I guess it's a player privacy thing where they don't want their records shared or something.
Well, that's
but
ridiculous.
If you were going to make a trade, I can't imagine that everybody wouldn't agree it was better if I got to know for sure what I was getting.
Yeah, absolutely. Amy Davis goes, I don't understand the waiver system with Hunt. How do we keep him? I mean, you keep him by not putting him on waivers, essentially. He to get to the minors, you need to put him on waivers. And so the risk is if you put him on waivers that Columbus can just take him right back. So that's...
Or anybody else could.
Exactly. Do you want to talk about the FanDuel stuff going on right now, or you really don't?
Well, there's not there. I don't know much about it. It's we're all still kind of waiting in limbo with it, but I know that all of the teams are. There's no doubt in my mind that the Wild and in our market, the Wolves aren't at least exploring, like, okay, if this happens, what are we going to do? Yep. Where are we going to put our
I wrote about it in our Insider in The Athletic on Tuesday, tomorrow, Tuesday. And that's basically what a Wild source told me, is that they are absolutely monitoring this, dealing with the league with it. They're still convinced that you're going to be around for the rest of the season and, expect to get paid. That's the key one.
Well, that and there's business dealings that are involved that I don't exactly know how that would create solvency to make things work. But it's what's the difficult part is that the people that we work with on the production side are quality people, and they're feeling the brunt of this, I'm sure, because, FanDuel goes away, some of those people, I don't know where they go, and that's disappointing.
Yeah. Mitch says with the Wild travel to Winnipeg on Saturday on Saturday morning with the holiday freeze, or go through midnight on Friday. No, they'll go at 6 a.m.
You can't go after midnight anymore. They changed that rule a few years ago, and
the
some
earliest
teams abused it.
Yeah, definitely. James asked about the rink at the Olympics. Right now, they're saying it's going to be done. Can you make it? White Bear Lake football tweeted this, so I'm wondering if it's our buddy Ryan that's the coach there and just accidentally put it on the White Bear Lake football Twitter account. But it goes, despite his run, can you make a cup run with JoJo on your second line? Minus 20 in the playoffs, averaging point every 3 games in his playoff career. I mean, I think that's the goal, is for them to add at some point somebody that can, and then if you all of a sudden have JoJo on your third line, that's pretty good. Man, Tarasenko, by the way, I can't believe we haven't talked about it.
It also depends on how, if Johansson continues to play the way he's playing, you absolutely can. Because if that line, Boldy, Eriksson, Ek, and Johansson, keeps playing the way they're playing, you can make a cup run with a line like that without a doubt. He's the leading plus player on the Wild right now, playing against the other team's best every single night. But I don't know how likely that is. So in a perfect world, I think the Wild would love to see him on the third line. Tarasenko's been great, and I think there's been a little chemistry with the Russian line of Trenyon and Yurov, and we were talking a little bit about this on the broadcast yesterday, and Ryan Carter's the one who brought it up, that there might just be something to Tarasenko being the man, and whether it be on a roster or now in this case on a line. When he was in St. Louis and in his heyday, he was the man. He was the guy. He was everything ran through him on the power play. Blues need a goal, he's the guy. And then ever since in his other stops, that hasn't been the case. And it wasn't the case here. But he was on the top power play early, then he wasn't. But now all of a sudden on this line, he's the guy. So it was interesting. Remember the face-off play where it looked like Yurov was telling him where to go, and he made it clear the next day? No, I was telling Yurov where I was going to be. And I interviewed Trenyon after the game in Columbus and asked him about their line and their chemistry. And I said, when you guys were put together, did you guys sit down and chat at all about it? He said, oh, don't worry about it. Vladdy talks to us on every shift and tells us when he wants the puck and where. So I think maybe it's just something now where he's the guy on the line. He's calling the shots. He get me the puck. Yeah, that kind of thing. And maybe he thrives in that role. Yeah.
Somebody did ask about him and saying, Kyle asked, how much do gestures like Tarasenko's hero of the game to a young player like Lambo's have on their development? I think it says everything about him to everybody on that roster. I mean, even him just giving the empty net goal to Sturm the other day, I think says a lot. A couple more quickies. We talked about Sid last week. Somebody asked about Malkin, if that's a possibility. Malkin, if he's interested in Sid, no doubt Malkin would come up. I don't think I think Malkin actually would be more plausible. And the other thing that I like about Malkin is just the fact that his chemistry, that we know that he and Kirill are really, really tight, just because of their social media that we see with them training in the off seasons. Also asked, what do the non-Olympic players do during the break? They essentially go on vacation. It's like a extended bye. They have to be back way earlier. There is a trade freeze during the Olympics as well. Remember in 2010 in Vancouver, right at the minute that trade freeze happened, they traded Nick Leddy. And then in 2014, right when that trade freeze ended, they traded for Marty Hansel. So you can still talk. Let's see. There was one other funny one that I saw. I'll let you finish this one. Here we go. Wants to know Anthony's thoughts on Marchment going to Columbus. I thought I'd leave that one to you.
Well, I texted Dean Evison today, and I said, and I haven't heard back from him, but I texted him maybe an hour before the show and just said, do you think Mason Marchment now will reveal the Dallas diving plan from that series? And he hasn't responded. So
he might have responded. You don't have your phone out like
true.
Me every second. So we'll see. If he did respond, you probably shouldn't read it on the air. All right.
No response.
No response. So he didn't find it as funny as you and I did.
Well, yeah, it's probably true.
All right. Fun show. This will actually be our last show of the calendar year, so thanks for thanking everybody, Anthony. We will do a show on this upcoming road trip. I'll bring my podcast equipment out there, Anthony.
Are you on the trip?
Yeah, I'm on the entire trip except for Winnipeg.
Oh, nice.
So I will be there. So we'll have to get a dinner. We had our first dinner of the season in Columbus.
That's right. Was that the first in the season?
I'm pretty positive.
Huh. Yeah, you've been kind of a slacker. You haven't been traveling much.
Yeah, exactly. All right, thanks to our awesome sponsors, Aquarius Home Services, your local authorized dealer for Connecticut Water Treatment System, Clamshell Beach Resort, Onyx Maps, Twill in the Edina Galleria, and Royal Credit Union. Thanks, everybody.
So much coming out, there's nothing going in. I know that you feel like you're never gonna win. Oh, but the world won't forgive.